Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Kompanion, and I am Peter. And today's interview, you guys, I'm excited to have them return, is Hiro Koda and Jahnel Curfman, stunt coordinators from season 3 Cobra Kai. How you two doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us back.
Great to be back.
Yes, and this time we got to see each other. And
Yes.
yeah, and you guys were like one of the first people part of the show that I've ever met. So let me see, August 30th, I feel August 30th or 31st, 2019. We flew down to Atlanta.
Mhm.
The first person I met was Tiffany. She's the sound girl. And then it was some of the people that worked upstairs, but then it was Hayden that gave us a tour. And I've shared this story from my perspective a few times on the podcast. What do you recall about our meeting? Because Brianna also remembers it a little bit differently too.
Does she?
Yeah.
Let me remember. Because I know Hayden was like giving you the full tour of everything, and then we kind of just ran into each other outside of that. But we had spoken prior to you letting me know you guys were going to be coming and wanting to visit, and we were looking forward to meeting you in person. And I think we just sort of collided when we were working at some point. We just kind of collided right there with you and Hayden. And that's how we saw each other. I think it was just outside the production office there.
It was at the very end. Hayden was actually seeing us out. And
that's right.
I don't know why I was facing opposite from you, but you came from behind me and you had a bunch of bag of chips in your hands. And so what Brianna remembers is that I think a picture was going to be taken, maybe me and Hayden, and you were going to photobomb us. I feel that's what Brianna kind of said, that there was a photobomb coming. I turned around, I was like, oh shit, it's Hiro.
Sounds like something I would do for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really exciting too. I mean, that was kind of like the cherry on top too. It's like, okay, hey, I got to meet you guys too as well, and got to hold the infamous stunt hat too that a lot of people rock. So first off, first and foremost, congratulations! You guys been nominated a SAG nomination for help you with the exact wording of it, something ensemble.
It's for the best stunt ensemble.
Yeah, that must be
like our entire team. It's not just her and I. It's our entire team that did the show together. So it's good to recognize the performers as well.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think we went into this particular detail when you guys came on the first time. And for those that are tuning in and hearing you guys for the first time on our show, go back and listen to that first episode, because that's where you guys get to learn more about them and some of their previous work. But what was I going to get to? With being stunt coordinator, the both of you actually, what does your team consist of? What are your like duties and responsibilities into like, I guess, creating this team? Do you pick your doubles, or the doubles picked by somebody else? Talk about this team of stunt people.
Yeah, the core team usually ends up being the doubles that we use the most. Ours last season consisted of Mark Canonizato, who doubles Shilo and Ralph as well. And then also John Jihangir, who in season 2 played Rickenberger. We brought him back season 3 to continue playing that character. The boys brought him back and wrote in some more stuff. And then he also doubled Billy in season 3. So he was also a part of our core team. And generally that it tends to be the people who are there the most and the ones that we feel like we can trust the most with choreography. And, if something's going on where both of us are busy, we can say, hey, can you run a pad over to set, or it's just the ones that we entrust with the most responsibility and who are involved with prevising and rehearsing and doing choreography and things like that. Training with the cast as well. So that was sort of our core team. And then it extends, it gets a little bit broader when you start to incorporate, more of the other doubles, and some of the ND people come in that, work a day or two here and there playing other parts or being parts of fights. But I have to say our team in general, with encompassing everybody that we brought in to work on season 3 was really spectacular. We had so much fun. And that's the thing too. We have so much fun on Cobra Kai. We love the cast. We love the show. We loved our team that we brought in throughout the season. Everybody did such a great job. So it was a great season. It was an incredible experience, season 3.
Yeah, for me, as somebody that's just, part of the fandom and follow the show, I too kind of feel like a part of the family. Shout out to Austin Rains. I don't know if you guys were given a gift for Christmas from him, because he just mentioned like casting crew. I guess he has like a 3D printer and made like Cobra Kai ornaments.
Oh,
Oh,
wow,
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he sent me one for Christmas, and I'm just like, well, thank you. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah. And I haven't spoken with him yet in terms of like an interview, but he came to our meetup in Atlanta the day after I saw you guys. So I met him, Asher. I don't know if you guys saw some of our pictures, but we had a pretty good turnout with some of the local people. Gianni had already been in town by then. Rose stopped by, Rose Bianco. But before we get further into that talk, obviously season 3 was filmed by December 2019, and it was scheduled for like spring of 2020. Nobody knew the pandemic was going to hit, obviously. So for me, during that pandemic, I've kind of shared the story like a few times on the show, but because of the nature of my job and the risk of me possibly coming in contact on a daily basis, my wife, who was pregnant at the time, had to take the 2 kids and move in with her sister, and we were separated for 7 months. But I would come here almost every day. We started visiting through the window, and then after we got more comfortable, we started visiting from a distance. I'd go on walks up and down the sidewalks with them, a few feet apart. And so 7 months of that, and then the baby came on Halloween, and I've been here since. So, but during my time alone, I was able to binge Ozark. And I know that you were stunt coordinator of season 3, so I hadn't seen the show, so that was one of my I guess positives that I can take away from that I binge Ozark, and that you were part of season 3. Season 2 had some cast members from Cobra Kai as well. How did you get into that? Because obviously it does film in Atlanta as well, and that's where you guys are filming other things as well. How did you get to go on Ozark, and what was that experience like?
It was an incredible show to be a part of. I had so much fun on that show. But to go back, like I did a prior to Ozark season 3, I did it was an HBO series called The Outsider.
Oh, right.
I was doing that. Jason Bateman was a producer, and also he played a character on there as well. He was worked in the first few episodes. Him and I got along really well, and the HBO side of it was producers that I've done lots of shows for, and so they brought me in to do that show. And then I met Jason working on there, and when Jason left The Outsider, he was going to do Ozark, and he basically was like, I would like to take Hiro with me. I want him to come do Ozark season 3. So him and the HBO producers had to get together and chat and decide, because it was going to roll at the same time. But they made out a deal and worked out it was really a good deal. They were able to let me do both shows. And I mean, there was a lot of stuff on both shows, which was a little bit crazy schedule wise, but both shows kind of agreed to let me kind of bounce between the 2 shows and be where I was needed the most on heavy days of stunts or what have you. And then that's how I kind of got over to Ozark. And Jason also directs over there. He directed the first couple of episodes over there, but I got to do that entire season. Incredible show, incredible cast. It's a very dark show. Yeah. It's so good. It was a lot of fun to be a part of. And I was super bummed, like, the pandemic hit and then everything came back all at the same time. And I do Stranger Things as well, and like Ozark and Cobra, everything was like all at the same time. And it was like I couldn't do Ozark as well, so I couldn't go back season 4. I was a little back over there. Everything was kind of running at the same time, but I still keep in touch with Jason, and he was a little bummed I couldn't get back over there, but he was incredible to work with. That entire cast was cool. It was a lot of fun.
When you're so good at your craft, you're a popular man, right?
High demand.
Yeah, high demand. Yeah. So your schedule must be really crazy, and the kids and all that. So So to move on from Ozark, what did you guys do to occupy your time during most of 2020? I know that at some point Jacob hooked up with you guys to work on his film. He talked about that in our first interview. So that was kind of cool to kind of see some of the same people. John, you guys mentioned, was also part of that. I think Gisette was also helped out with that too. Yeah.
We actually did that towards the end of filming season 3. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but we did that towards the end over a couple weekends, and but he did come visit us during the quarantine. January kicked off, and I had started up on Stranger Things, and the pandemic hit, and then we got shut down. And as soon as we got shut down here in Atlanta, we packed up and went home to Colorado, where we live, with our kids. And we ended up, I mean, that's the most we probably spent in our home in Colorado ever, because we were there, 6 months?
Yeah.
Learned a lot about farming. We have a lot of property out there, and we decided to try to irrigate and get some grass in the front field of our place. And so we learned a lot about farming and irrigating and all of that.
Maybe some tips from Ozark too, owning some land out there.
Yeah, exactly. But it was great. It was great to be home in Colorado and be in our home, because we don't get that much time there on a long period. We usually bounce back there during holidays and come back here because we work so much here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like being here, I honestly thought that, gosh, being away from my wife for so long, and our conversations are kind of brief over the phone. I get off relatively late, and then she goes to bed pretty much when the kids go to bed. I thought that when I moved back in here with them, that we would start bickering and at each other's throats all the time. But I think if anything, it taught us how to be a little bit more patient with one another. So yeah, we're doing pretty good, happy vibes. But we're just kind of waiting to go back to. We were living with her parents before everything, and her parents are of age and work in the same. We all work for the post office. So her mom had like 2 scares with like coworkers, and her father and I both go door, to every door on the route. So people are constantly coming up to us without a mask, and it's like, well, we're people too, like we can also be affected. So people are very like not so mindful about the mail carriers out there. But with season 3, you guys come back, and there's some returning people from season 1, like Joe, Annalisa, stuff like that. For people that that work on choreo, how much
we lost you. Sorry, you went mute for a second. Go ahead and repeat that.
Is it back?
Yeah.
Okay. So how far do I need to go back?
No, just ask when you started to ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So for people who work with choreo, and there's so many moving parts, season 3, we were promised karate, and we got a lot of it, as you can imagine. How much more preparation do you guys have to do? And can you talk about this, the process of like, having to look over the scripts, or do they just say like, hey, these are the fights that are going to happen? How do you guys start preparing and get the ball rolling for the fight choreography?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a process. The big 3, Josh, John, and Hayden, write incredible stuff. So it really helps us build on what we are trying to do action wise. We go through the scripts, read them, break them down. Both of us kind of do it separately and break everything down. And she does a lot of the legwork on pulling all the big stunts out of it. And then we start talking about choreography and trying to figure out exactly what we're going to need, double wise, ND wise, or stunt players that can play parts if they have like maybe 1 or 2 lines or something like that. So there's a whole process in between before we even get to choreographing, is like breaking it down, pulling all the stunts out, and then we go to the meetings with whoever's directing that block, which is 2 different episodes, and basically breaking down each of the things that we feel requires our department to be a part of, and require a double or a stunt person or what have you, and go back and forth and decide like, well, here's this sequence. What do you see happening here? What exactly would you like? How do you feel about this? And just try to get as much information as we can from each of those interviews and meetings. And then we also, between that, different departments, and I'll go meet with different departments, meaning props or special effects, and figuring out what kind of props are being used and if we need rubber weapons or soft weapons or breakaways from special effects and things like that. So that's all a process of stuff that we do prior to even getting into the gym and starting to work on the choreography of what we're going to put together. So it's quite the process. And then we'll get the guys together. Our core team will basically brainstorm. We'll start to get things together, choreograph. I'll shoot a previs of the sequence, which is, like a blueprint for everybody to look at. It's basically, we shoot it as if it's going to be shot. I cut it together. I even add music and sound effects and things like that. And then we present it back to the director for either notes or say, here's like kind of our idea of what we're going to do for this sequence. And then we go from there. And then there's training, of course. Through all of that, we have training every day. So anybody that's off work, they're in the gym training. So we got to find those moments to get with them and train as well.
Okay. I feel I asked this last time too, but maybe it's changed. With season 3 and all the training that everyone put in, if this was like the NBA, who would you say was the most improved in terms of like somebody that surprised you? Like, wow, you really put in the work and it shows.
Peyton List for sure. She, she got thrown into it early in season 2. I think she came in episode 4, and she had a fight, I think, her second week of filming. So it was, I was going to wherever she was on location and, getting her for 20 minutes at a time in between her shots being on camera, and really worked with her quite a bit in season 2, but we just kind of hit the ground running. So it was just, doing what we could when we could. We were so busy. And then season 3 came around, and not that she was necessarily doing more martial arts training. We did get more martial arts training with her, but she was also just working out a lot to stay strong. She was doing Pilates, and she was just really keeping herself at like peak performance physically. So it made it easier when we did get in the gym to really, just work her technique, because she was really strong. She was really flexible. You could tell she'd really like been working with it. And by the time we got to the end of season 3, and I know I've said this before, but as soon as she found out that her character was going to be using the nunchucks, I got her a pair, and those nunchucks never left her hand. Like, even no matter where she was, whenever she was off camera, she was just like, doing all the stuff. And so it was, and she ended up doing a really great job. So it was just, she's a hard worker, and to see where she was when she first came to us in season 2 to even see where she is now, it's just like huge improvement.
Not to take away from anybody on that cast, every one of those kids worked their butts off, even the adults, Ralph, Billy, and Martin Cove. They all just train as hard as they can because they want to do as much as they can on screen. And they're all super hard on themselves, but not to take away anything from Peyton, because yes, we did see a huge difference in her, but everybody has improved from the very beginning. Sholito was like our very first little baby from the very beginning. Like, he was the first person we started training, and to see his progression up until now, it has been like incredible. And Jacob, he was early on in the, in training with him, and to what he can do now is just, it's incredible how far all these kids have gone and how hard they've tried. I don't want to say the kids, they're all adults now, but we always call them kids.
Yeah.
They all, Tanner, Mary, all of them, they all work very hard, and they all have their different process of how they're learning. All the kids we train together, and the adults, we sort of keep them separate, meaning Marty, Billy, and Ralph. But they all have different training process of how they kind of like process it for themselves, and we have to learn how they need to process it so that we can work with them to make it work for them. And so it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
I bet. So many people involved in the choreo. It is quite amazing. It's honestly, we're not surprised when you guys get nominated for your work on Cobra Kai. So it's just, it's just like, we see that like, hey, no surprise there, So, Jahnel, thank you for.
There's so many characters.
Yeah.
there's so many characters and they add new characters every season. So it's like a whole new person and a brand new person that comes in. We got to go, oh, we got to throw this new guy into the mix and figure out how they're going to work into it. And so it changes the whole dynamics of everything. But, you know, I mean, our core team, John and Mark, if we didn't have them, I mean, it would just be so much harder. Those guys, we owe them so much because the way we all kind of flow together just makes it so much easier.
Yeah,
really
Mark
helps.
was one of the other guys that I met that day. Just briefly, Jahnel, thank you for bringing up the nunchucks. That really stood out to me because that I didn't see that coming. You know, we saw Sam and Daniel, you know, do a little bit of sparring with the bows, right? So when Sam has that, that's kind of like, okay, well, we saw her with that, but I don't pretty sure we didn't see Tori with nunchucks early on at all. So for her to bust that out and do that, I go, wait, did she really know how to do that? Because she sold that. Yeah, yeah. So I was really surprised, and I think that's pretty badass that she put in the hard work, and it paid off because I literally thought that, oh man, I think she spent some time with that, like even prior, like she might have had some previous skills, you know, in doing that. And I was just like, well, maybe it's CG, like, you know, but hey, so that's really her doing it. That's awesome.
If you'd have followed her around with a camera outside of her work, if she's doing an acting scene, she would cut and then walk over and grab her nunchucks and just stand there and just like,
that's awesome. That's some drive right there. That's drive. That's got to be like really rewarding to see you guys, you know, seeing them really wanting to work hard. You know, like everybody we talked to, Jacob the first time, he mentioned like, oh, I really wanted to get thrown into the glass, but he was like, no, you know, your time is up. You got to go home, or whatever the case was, because he was still underage at the time. And so
he wants to do everything.
Yeah,
I went back and forth. He was going after her, saying, "Miss Jahnel, please, Miss Jahnel." But
yeah,
I mean, he's completely capable. That kid, if he didn't want to do acting, he would be a great stuntman, to be honest.
Right.
He is incredible. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but is it Jacob and Tanner that are always kind of like competing who's like the better acrobat? Or I feel that was the name that he might have mentioned before.
They do in the training hall. They always have, you know, once we get done at the end of the day, they usually have a little session where they want to either they grapple or they're doing some kind of competition. There's a competitive thing between the two of them. That's always a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Tanner's really talented. He's a talented acrobat, actually. He can do a lot of things that he came in already knowing, not even things that we had taught him, but he is, I mean, an incredible athlete on his own.
I don't know if I brought this up the first time, but during the tournament scene in season 1, episode 110, obviously, but did Tanner do a lot of those moves himself? Was there much doubling in him?
The tournament?
Oh, yeah, the tournament.
In season 1.
Yeah, between like, you know.
We did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The majority of it.
He did, yeah.
I mean, most of the cast did the majority of their stuff. We had a lot of just indie stunt players. The doubles were all there, but the way it was shot and what was needed to be done and how hard they rehearsed the cast, we were able to use them for quite a bit of it. And with that type of stuff with the tournament, it's very different from all the other fights that you see, because the tournament is like, they're not trying to, I mean, the Cobra Kais are obviously being dirty and doing their, extreme, beatings that they like to do, but
yes.
It's not like your other fights that they're having where they're out there fighting for blood, if that makes any sense. Because at the tournament, you're trying to get a point. As soon as someone gets hit, whether it's dirty or not dirty, the ref, me, stops it, and there's a point called. So it's a little bit different type of choreography. So it made it a little bit easier to kind of break it up into segments for them, and everybody sort of was able to kind of go through it. And that was, I mean, that's where she came on board, because I started Cobra Kai by myself, and there was a lot of fights, but it wasn't crazy. And as it got towards the end of episode 9, 10, and we get into the tournament, it was like, I'm playing the ref as well. I was like, I can't do this by myself. I need somebody here to help me run the set while I'm up there like acting, and I can't be behind monitors with the big three and watching and making sure everything's working for camera. So that's where she actually came on board, which sort of, you know, ran into season 2, 3. It was like, there's so much work. There's no way to do this show by yourself.
So to go ahead and jump in with season 3, one of the sequences I'm kind of curious about because I'm kind of learning as you guys are revealing some things. The first time Johnny gets like in a confrontation, it's with Bobby and Mr. G Rod, who both I believe also work in some stunt. Do you have any insight into for like a sequence like that? Do you is it preferred that these people also have some experience in stunt, or are they looking for actors that can do that?
So generally, parts when we get a script and we see, okay, there's an interaction between, there's some dialogue and interaction between these like smaller guest starring roles. We will submit stunt people to do the acting audition. So we actually pull from our database of people, we know like the kind of like the look they want, what they're going for. And so then we'll send in, 5 or 6 guys to read for the role. That way we don't have to end up doubling them, because for smaller parts like that, it can be harder to, you're hiring the actor and you're also having to hire a stunt double, but you might as well just hire a stunt performer who can also act. And Bobby and G-Rod fit that category perfectly. So they actually were part of the group of stunt people that we submitted to casting to read for the role.
Awesome.
They did a great job. I love that whole sequence.
Oh yeah, they nailed it. They were fun.
Yeah, I haven't even spoken with them yet, but like G-Rod, like we've pretty much formed like a relationship on social media, so yeah, really cool guys. I definitely want to talk to them at some point, obviously. But so when Johnny breaks the windshield, that is the special effects that comes up with that. How do they rig all of the windows?
It was a real piece of glass in the window, but they have a popper on it. It's basically a charge that hits the glass and it shatters. It's tempered glass, and so it's really about the timing of it. So that because if they didn't hit that at the right time and he hit the glass, it wouldn't break. I don't think it would have broke. I mean,
might break his hand.
Yeah. So it has
a la
to
Crease
break
style,
prior. Right? And it's just like, it's precise timing of just being able to see just when to hit the glass and hit that, popper at the right time so that the glass shatters and then the hand can go through it.
Yeah.
So it's important to have a good special effects person to hit the button at the right time, because I've done many of shows where I've run at a piece of glass to jump through it and the button didn't go, or they hit it at the wrong time and I bounced right off of it. So it's very important. I mean, John Jihangir was he did the punch because we couldn't risk having Billy.
Right.
If they made a mistake and he popped it, it could have been bad. But
and it was the same concept on, at the end of season 3 when Kreese and Daniel go through the glass of the Cobra Kai dojo. It's that same. I mean, obviously on a much
larger,
bigger scale, but it's that same concept with the tempered glass. And
That's right. In episode 2, it's something that a lot of fans were. We didn't know how soon we would get, but a team up between Johnny and Daniel in the chop shop.
Oh, it's chop shop.
Yeah. Can you guys talk about like the process of choreographing that the entire sequence? Because what is it, 2 on 4? I believe it was
4 or 5. There was the 4 main guy, the 4 like mechanics, and then there was
one guy kind of
yeah. That one was fun because we started brainstorming about, things that would be in a chop shop. And some of it was written into the script, and just, figuring out like if there was a wrench, like how would they use it? Or if there was a chain, like how would they use it? So it's always fun in those situations to take into consideration your surroundings and then incorporate them into the choreography to make it different. And, using the cars. One of our stunt guys, Tristan McConnell, goes into one of the windshields and the glass breaks, and
just using the environment and just whatever location we go to scouts and listen to what is happening in those sequences, but we her and I will go to a scout and just basically look at the entire environment and figure out what can we break or what can we use in this fight to make it fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to put that fight together. It was incredible. It was like one of the first times they teamed together, and to be able to see like Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do working together in a fight, which was really cool to show the difference between the two, but they're working together. So that was a lot of fun to put together.
What was the idea behind the move that at the end there, right before Johnny and Daniel start fighting each other, where, gosh, I'm forgetting who does what now. I think Johnny does the sweeping, or does I think
Johnny did the leg sweep and Daniel did a spinning back hook kick at the same time, so they kind of took the guy out.
Oh my god, I think that was in the trailer, and we're like, what the fuck is that?
That was and actually I think we came across like how the guy was going to get taken out, but then trying to find a guy, because we had to find a person that could do that move by taking a leg sweep and a head kick and flip over all together, and the timing of the three of them was very important.
Yeah.
But that was, I think did we come up with the flip first? And then we're like, how are we going to make this flip happen? I can't remember which one we did first, because it was all came together at the end. Like we had to figure out something cool to take them both out at the same time.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I think it was written in the script that it didn't say that move specifically, but it was like Johnny and Billy and Ralph were supposed to take them out together at the same time, but I couldn't.
Right.
Remember.
And I think, I don't know if it's foreshadowing, but I do like the idea of seeing, you just mentioned like the two styles of dojo, but they were still able to kind of move around as one, and kind of like feel each other out.
You know what? That's interesting, because that is a little bit of foreshadowing that none of us saw at that point.
Oh, that's funny. So do you guys not get the scripts that far ahead? Is it kind of like one episode at a time?
We get 2 episodes at a time.
Yeah. Oh,
they're shot in blocks.
Right.
So generally we'll get 1 and 2, and then once we start shooting 1 and 2, we'll get 3 and 4 and start prepping 3 and 4 while we're still shooting 1 and 2. So, and
they're also still writing too while we're shooting.
Yeah.
The future episodes anyway.
In that same episode, there's the Kreese flashback, so we get some backstory. Choreographing the fight from 1965, I'd imagine did you guys have to be like really careful of not implementing moves that weren't really quite created yet?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we take into consideration, like, story is very important to us, and like I said earlier, the big three, they write incredible stuff, so it really guides us in our action and what we design. But I mean, we're not the type of stunt coordinators that just kind of throw cool stuff because it's cool to be in there. We try to really take the story, and it's very important to us to make sure that stays real to the characters, so it stays real to the fans.
Mm-hmm. With season 3, a lot of the Karate Kid fans saw the return of many beloved characters. For me, it was definitely Chosen. I oh my gosh. So speaking with Yuji, he gave his insight into all the choreo and stuff like that. Hiro, I don't believe you've worked with him previously on any projects before.
I have not, but we've known each other in the past just through mutual friends, and I've met him before, and we've known each other, but never actually have gotten to work together on set before. So it was, we were stoked to get to work together on season 3, and he was super excited. He was like one of my first phone calls when I found out, and he was very excited to get to Atlanta and start training. And man, him and Ralph, they worked their butts off. We didn't have a whole lot of time with Yuji because his time frame wasn't as, like, I wish they would have brought him out sooner. But that guy's incredible anyways. Like, it was like just dusting off the cobwebs, because he got right back in there and just like killed it. We were so excited to put all that together for him, and he did so well. Super excited and very proud of him, proud of Ralph. Like, they did such a good job with that sequence.
So you mentioned like the story is very important to you. What were some some things that you kind of kept in mind when choreographing for the character I've chosen, and what he displays and shows and stuff like that. Because a lot of questions we asked Yuji, he not deferred, but would credit you like, oh no, that was Hito's stuff. That was his idea, stuff like that.
I mean, when we get people in and don't know what they can do or what they're capable of, we sort of do an assessment of what they're good at, how they move. We kind of assess them to kind of figure out what moves are they best at. We just run them through like a whole ton of different things and just see how they move and what style they're sort of created for themselves, and figure out what the best moves that they do that we can incorporate, because we want them to look good on camera. We don't want to give them something that's really difficult for them to do. And then just for my personal research, and I know I love all of the Karate Kid 2, one of my favorites by far.
Yes.
Karate Kid 3, it was okay. But those are some of my all-time kid favorite movies. And doing Cobra Kai, that's something that myself personally, I'll research and make sure that we stick to those characters and how they move. Especially with like Ralph, we wanted none of his stuff should change. He's Ralph, he's Daniel LaRusso, so he needs to move the way he does. And coming to Cobra Kai, even though it's 30 years later, we don't want to change his style. Johnny is the same way. We don't want to change his style. He has a certain way of moving. And then Chosen coming in, Yuji, we don't want to change the way he moves, but it is 30 years later and Chosen has been trained. So that is taken into it's a weird process that I go through, but it's like what I put through my head. Okay, well, he's still been training for 30 years. So he has learned new moves, and he's learned new things that he can implement into it, but still keeping his flavor and his style of how he moves. So that's the process that I went through.
Yeah.
And he picked up everything so easy and so quickly, and and he had like input on some of the things. He's like, well, like I had a certain move that was set a certain way, and then he would do it, and he would like, well, I feel a little bit more comfortable. Can I do it this way? I'm like, yeah, of course, let's do it that way. That looks good. So we kind of work with him that way.
Well, what is the thing that's called? So before he kind of unleashes like the Miyagi secret and all those pressure points, what is the thing that he kind of does like right before that? Was that I'm assuming that was you, not Yuji, coming up with that?
No, that was it was a traditional Japanese kata. It was a piece of a kata, not like your one that you see with Daniel and how it is. It's a different one, but it is a traditional Japanese style. It comes from my background, which is Yoshukai, is a Japanese traditional karate, and it's a piece of one of our forms. And I wanted it to be a little bit different from what Daniel LaRusso does, because this is Chosen now and it's something different. I wanted everybody to see something a little bit different and new. So
it is so badass. Like I don't use this word very often at all, but I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that is filthy. Like, whoa, that there's just like some I don't know the word, like something.
It was a little bit more hard.
Yeah,
just too meditative, it was like it needed to be this more intense, like breathing, like just it was a little bit more harder than like the whole meditation breathing that Daniel does. So it was like just a step, like a level step up from that, because it's something that Daniel was like, hey, I want to learn what you just did. So it needed to be something new and had to be up a level.
Why hasn't anybody done an edit of Yuji, like manipulating the moisture in the air to do like an ice freeze or something? It's beautiful. So that's just one of those sequences that really stick out.
Man, the most, like one of my all-time favorites and the most incredible day, obviously seeing Ralph and Yuji out there fighting again from, since Karate Kid 2, to see them in Cobra Kai fighting each other again was like incredible. Like it was so crazy on set, but then that moment when he grabbed him and went, it was like that was like the most.
I don't know if you saw my son's reaction I posted on Instagram, but he's a fan of part 2, and the biggest reason is the fight between Daniel and Chosen. So he loves that sequence in season 3. So it's just him kind of chuckling at the things that Chosen does. And I cut it off a little prematurely, but he even reacts to Yuji's or Chosen saying, "You should see the look on your face," like because because that was like one of those sequences too. So having Ron Thomas return to play Bobby, the church there, was there any kind of directions given to just that little? I guess I mean it's pretty simple, right? He just does a sweep, really. I mean, they're not really fighting.
Yeah, and he did that sweep. So it was, I mean, we got in touch with him beforehand and said, like, hey, like, how are you? And we had just worked with him.
Yeah. I mean, he's kept up his training over
He has,
the years.
yeah.
So he, like, I mean, even like that bar fight it was season 2. The bar fight in season 2, like, he did the majority of all of it. Actually, I think he did all of it. I mean, he's kept up his training and he moves super well. And to come in and be in the church sequence there for season 3, it was like that sweep was like was a no-brainer for him. It was super easy and
it's pretty good. He's kept in shape and pulled it off. The soccer sequence, that's obviously something that we saw in the first Karate Kid movie as well. Can you talk about that? Because like Jacob also shared like the soccer ball thing, and he quoted you at some point too about doing something with the soccer ball. I'm kind of forgetting right now, but just kind of choreographing that because there's a lot to look at during that whole thing. Mary and obviously Gianni and Jacob and all that.
I don't know specifically what he quoted me on. I know Jacob's very handy with a soccer ball. Though he came in the training room and we started talking about some of the soccer stuff and we threw a ball at him and he was juggling the ball around like he had played professional soccer. So it was like, oh, this is going to be easy then. And John Ji Hunger is like pretty incredible with a soccer ball as well. So it was like being able to come up with like cool moves and incorporate it in choreography for fighting was a lot of fun for us to put together.
Yeah, I think it might have been just maybe just a little pressure to like, all right, hurry up and get this in like the next shot kind of thing, like kind of just running out of time and just like making sure you get that, because he just talked about like having to kind of practice over and over with the ball.
We are always running out of time on that show. There's just never enough time to shoot what we need to shoot action wise, and so it's like they'll spend the whole day doing all the acting and lead ups to the action, and then suddenly we have like 2 hours to shoot an entire sequence.
Oh man.
So that's always been like the struggle for us, is just like, all right, let's go. We're gonna get through this and shoot it as quickly as we can.
Just needed more time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This is a couple of other images. Oh, okay. So you guys talked about like like the difference in dynamic when a new character is introduced. In season 3, we get Sean, who Ravi has a few fight sequences with. Can you talk about working with OK and I guess we see more Tanner doing incredible stunts like running up the wall. Oh no, you guys froze.
TK, are you on?
Oh, we're back. We're back. Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Weird.
Sorry.
Did you get the whole question?
Yeah. No, just what was I lost the question in there.
Oh, okay. Basically I was asking, with the new character Sean, right? In season 3, there's a lot of like Sean versus Robbie in Juvie. Can you talk about working with OK and maybe his style, because he's in prison. We don't know what he knows.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any he didn't have any specific background. It's just that he's in juvie, and obviously he's a kid who is a little bit rough and tumble. So we had some liberty in that of knowing that he's probably just going to be down and dirty, throwing punches, just
straight up street fighter, not.
Yeah, sort of like the Cobra Kai version of like a prison fight. But, any of those characters that come in like that who aren't with us on a regular basis, getting them in and trying to get them trained can present its own set of challenges, because our regular cast, we can sort of throw whatever we want at them and know that they're going to be able to retain the choreography and perform it on camera. But when we got okay. And then even with some of the Vietnam flashback stuff with Barrett Carnahan and
Jesse
was another one, and God, his name's slipping me. What is his name? Captain.
Oh, yeah, the captain.
Oh, what's his name?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Somebody say he looked like Patton. Yeah, General
Yeah, I
Patton.
don't remember. Anyway, when we get those characters in, it is always a bit of a challenge because you're not sure what kind of background they have and or what they've done as far as action on camera. But okay was game to like get in there and do as much of it as he could, and he picked up the choreography really well. And then you also always wonder about the physical chemistry of doing action with the other actors. So, and luckily him and Tanner had great fight chemistry together. So that was a fun sequence.
It really was. Okay said that he was wearing a Power Rangers shirt one day, and you went up to him and said, "That's me."
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah,
That broke
those are
the
always
ice
fun.
with us. Yeah, he's a scary man. Standing there looking at you, and he's very quiet and just came in and did his deal. And but it was a pleasure working with him, and he worked really hard. And like Jahnel said, him and Tanner had a really great fight chemistry together, and so their fights just sort of flowed together really well. And okay, went for it, man. He's like, "I'll do whatever you want me to do, man. Just tell me where to throw it."
That's got to make it easier for you guys too, right?
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine like just the challenges when somebody's restricted or limited to certain choreography.
The other challenge with that is having those kind of characters that come in. They fly in and out from wherever they live, and so we don't have the training time with them. Jesse was an exception because he's Martin's kid, so he came in early, and so we got some time to actually bring him into the gym and work with him. But like Barrett and the captain,
Oh, man.
Terry, yes,
Terry.
Okay.
being able that was his name in the show. No, that was. But
Nick
being able,
played.
those guys, they had to learn it on the day.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And like Barrett's schedule, because he was doing another show, sort of shifted things around for our show because they had started with him, and then there was other things that were supposed to happen, and then Barrett was on another show and wasn't able to come to Atlanta to get into that sequence. So our schedule got shifted around, and then he ended up having to learn a lot of the stuff on the day of shooting.
Yeah.
Which was like scary to be able to do that, but Barrett was amazing and picked up the choreography really well and did like incredible with it. So that luckily we were able to do that with him. So
the laser tag, the abandoned laser tag building, but that fight sequence. Can you talk about like the Dimitri's arm breaking and kind of was it hard kind of filming in the dark like that?
No, it wasn't as dark, I think, as
it looks darker.
It looks darker on camera than it was when we were filming.
Yeah.
But that piece itself was separate from all the rest of the filming we had done. We did it later on, I think, during block.
Oh.
It was the
7
end.
and 8. It was like at the very end of our shooting where we went back and we picked up that stuff with the arm break, and there was some bits and pieces that we were still trying to get.
That was that sequence originally was a lot longer. There was a bigger fight between Dimitri and Hawk. There was a much bigger sequence between the two of them that ended up we just didn't have the time to shoot it. And so we finished out what we had in that sequence, and then we needed to come back and pick up the pieces to sign it to sort of complete that scene.
Oh man, so we didn't get to see kind of the did they have any? Well, there was the soccer field, but then before that was the school fight. So I think wow, that would have been a really big one.
I have a previs of the actual fight that we put together for Hawk and Dimitri, which was really cool. It was a pretty cool little sequence, but that ended in the arm break. But ultimately, in the end, it didn't get shot, and we ended up with what we had. And it was a smaller piece, which was kind of a bummer because Gianni works really hard too. And And that kid he surprised us when he came into the gym for the first time, because he's a very strong kid, and like hits hard and kicks the paddles hard, and he surprised us when he came in there, and I was hoping to be able to get to do more with him.
Yeah. Oh man. Is that something that cannot be shared? The previous? I mean, I kind of know what it is and stuff. I don't know what the rules are about that. Is that something that viewers might be able to see someday?
Yeah, I mean, season 3's done, so yeah, I mean, you totally could see it. I'll get it to Jordan, and you can check that out, because that season's done, and it's definitely something that would be worth talking about and seeing a previs of what could have been able to happen. But I don't see it being a problem. Do you?
No.
We'll talk about it afterwards. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm sure you guys are extremely busy. Obviously, save the best for last, because it is the last sequence. But that the entire fight sequence inside the LaRusso house, Brianna and Amy and I, we've been in there, so we know how tight the spaces are. And we also found out that originally it was supposed to be in the backyard, but due to weather, as always, you guys had to improvise, bring it inside. So clearly, a lot of changes were made. But can you talk about like the setup? Because the first person we spoke to after the release of season 3 was Joe, and he was talking about, dang it, I got one more sequence I want to bring up before we, the dojo and Jacob beating down on Brooks.
Oh,
I didn't save that image, but
yeah.
talking with Jacob, because like, this is the second time you guys spoken with me. I try to get in, to some of these details, and I asked Jacob specifically, that spit, was that scripted? He goes, no, that was improvised. And then he talked about, I think you were below the board because you were filming, making sure that he was going to hurt his hand. Can you talk about like filming that, and again, kind of what you remember when Jacob spat? Because we're watching it in slow-mo. I can't imagine what it's like in like real time.
That was a very intense moment. I took a ton of photos and videos. His mom wasn't there, so I was taking videos from like down below. I'm like holding this little pad, and I'm filming him punching at the camera. And it was a very intense moment for him, and a big, character thing for Eli. Being, he's Hawk, but that was a big moment for his character, and to be able to take Brooks out the way he did and how brutal he took him out. And to see him, raining those punches down and trying to figure out how we were going to do that safely and not, obviously the camera was basically Brooks, and then we put, some padding down, and special effects was throwing blood in this little bucket or this little plate that he was punching down on, so that he would come up with blood on his hands. And I mean, I don't know where Jacob goes in his character, but when he stood up, I'm looking up at him and he spat. I was like, wow. I don't know. I mean, that was
it was a really intense
moment
scene,
that night.
for sure.
The first time we saw that, I think the teaser, like people, I mean, because I'm trying to remember, I think the teaser also showed Kyler, I feel. Maybe that was saved for the regular trailer, but I just remember how everyone's like, oh, he's kicking Kyler's ass. Like, I'm just, because they never showed Brooks. So I thought that was really cool. Like that's one of the examples where the big three kind of used our expectations against us. It's something that they've talked about before.
Yeah.
So obviously we knew from season 1 that Kyler did wrestling. Brooks, he was in the weight room. Anything specific about like Joe wrestling and how you were going to have Brooks kind of approach his bout with Hawk?
Brooks' character is always, even from like the very first season when we had him fighting, he was just a kid that was, a big kid that just like was a bully and threw his punches however he was going to throw it. But and we never really specifically like created his. Oh, sorry, hold on a second.
It's okay, no problem.
My dog. We never really created like a specific style for Brooks, just because of who he was as a person and as a character. So he was just kind of whatever we threw at him, it was what it was going to be. With Joe and being Kyler and his wrestling background, that was something that we wanted to play with and really stick to. However he fought, he did do like a little bit of street fighting, but we wanted to incorporate his wrestling skills and all of the stuff that he does. So, from season 1, when we saw him fight Johnny, and then when he's fighting in the dojo, he obviously tries to get into a little bit of you see his stance is completely different. He's not standing up ready to fight. He's already ready in a wrestling pose. And, he takes that hit, and then he goes for what he knows he does best, which is wrestling. And he takes, Aiden down and chokes him out or makes him tap or whatever. And that's kind of the style that we wanted to create with him. And
I mean,
being able to maneuver that into, his fighting when we see him fighting later in the LaRusso house is he does have his punches and his kicks because he started to train with Cobra Kai, but ultimately he's still trying to do his wrestling stuff because that's what he's comfortable with.
Yeah, I think it's you guys balance that very well because I guess for people that don't really think about it, the people that have like the different styles in fighting, anybody that has done any like contact sport, like it's muscle memory. So you're gonna see these people kind of revert to like what they know best. So so I guess the fight at the LaRusso house, we get it all. We see Tori versus Sam and just all of that. But talk about how chaotic it was. Just choreographing all of that and the moving pieces. Joe and Sholo having to pick up a table or something just for like blocking and camera movements.
That was in the oneer.
Yeah.
Moving the furniture around and and Hiro said it before, we should have set up some GoPros in the corners.
He's frozen.
Oh, that froze again?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where it would have been cool to see in the oneer in the LaRusso house, just everything that was going on behind the scenes.
Did I freeze again? Am I frozen?
There we are.
Oh,
now we're unfrozen.
Oh, weird. Okay.
You keep going in and out, but we're good.
I promise I'm still here, but yeah, connection. Yeah. I think you guys, you can.
You there?
I think it's still recording, so you guys just I think at some point I'll reconnect again or something.
Yeah, there was just so much going on behind the scenes doing that oneer. Getting in the right positions and moving furniture out of the way so that our Steadicam operator could get through some of the really tight spaces. And but even putting it together, it's a lot of little pieces that come together to make the grand whole.
Yeah,
it would have been cool. What she was saying earlier is just it would have been cool to have like a bunch of GoPros up high, just looking at the set to see what was happening behind the scenes, because with furniture being moved and people kind of replacing themselves, like we had some Texas switches in there with stunt doubles as well. And just to see all of that happening during the shot would have been pretty cool to see. Because, I mean, there was moments where furniture was being moved, tables were being moved and put back into place. It was like there was so many moving parts in that whole thing to make the whole thing work. And like she said, to have the Steadicam, it was very tight. You've been in that house, so you know how close quarters it is. So having him move around, which my hat's off to that Steadicam. He did such a great job with following everything and making sure that he got everything and the different direction changes and all of that. So it was a big challenge, but a lot of fun. It was way more fun to shoot that fight in the LaRusso house than it was going to be outside, for sure.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Just because there was so many more elements in the environment that we were able to use, and the path that the camera took. Once we choreographed all the fights and I sort of designed the flow of the camera, how that was going to work, it was going to work way better in the house because there was so many different places to kind of go in the house. Where outside, it was a big open arena, and so it wasn't going to be. I don't think the camera would have flowed as well out there.
Now, was there anything that you guys had choreographed that was outside that you couldn't do inside? Was there anything like near the pond where the wheel is, or something like that?
I don't really remember.
That would have been
I
So quick.
did.
But
yeah.
I kind of remember we started to kind of choreograph stuff for brainstorming, but not really setting anything hard in stone. For the outside and trying to figure out what was going to work good outside. But before any hard choreography was laid down, it was like, the weather's going to kill us. And they originally were like, it's supposed to rain. Maybe it's going to rain part of the night. So maybe we should just get some rain towers and make it rain. That'll be really cool. And they were like, no, that's not going to be cool. It will look cool, but it's going to be very dangerous because the backyard of Miyagi-Do is so like uneven, and then it's dirt and mud. By the time rain hits it, it was like, it's not going to be fun.
it's not going to be fun for anybody.
It's not going to be fun for anybody. It's going to be unsafe.
Not hair, not makeup, not wardrobe.
Not steady cam, not anybody.
performers.
Because one take, we all have to go and change clothes. So it's like, that's going to be a nightmare. And so they made the decision to move it into the LaRusso house. And Jahnel and I went in the house and we're like, all right, this is going to be cool.
Yeah. Oh man, I know logistically like it wasn't gonna work out, but it would have been cool like had there been a fight outside and it raining. I think with the with Chosen and Kumiko appearing in season 3, it'd almost be like a parallel to the end of the Karate Kid Part 2 in the rainstorm. Yeah, that would have been really interesting. So the fight that everybody continues to talk about and how brutal and violent it was between Kreese, Johnny, and Daniel. Some possible attempted murders here. Just some insight into that, and some things you guys came up with, or something that was already scripted. That you guys kind of maybe had challenges doing or something.
I mean, we knew where they laid the groundwork in the script. And so knowing like what the dialogue was leading up to this really intense moment, and where it started in the dojo and then moving through the hallway into the main area. And then there were certain story points and certain acting beats that we had to hit within the fight, which can always be tricky because you have to figure out where those points are where you break the rhythm and you break the momentum in order to have those bits of dialogue. But I felt like that one came together pretty smoothly. Like it all just like kind of flowed really well. And then, when you always are challenged where it's like, well, we want to do this move here, but it moves us in the wrong direction. We needed to go this way. Or, this move would like get us there, but it doesn't make sense for that character. It should be the other person doing it. So
the biggest challenge for us for that sequence was not the choreography itself. It was the fact that we were dealing with doing the LaRusso house, having to prepare for the Daniel, Johnny, and Kreese fight, but also doing the finale Vietnam stuff.
Oh, right.
That all was happening at the same time for us. So it was like crazy.
You guys were so busy during season 3. Oh my goodness. And I can't believe, let's see, filming picked up right after Labor Day and finished I think mid-December. You guys had like less than 3 months to do all of that, 10 episodes.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it is nuts. I mean, to go back to like the Johnny, Daniel, and Kreese fight, that one did flow really well together, and it was a lot of fun to put that together because it was a moment that we really could go off with Johnny. Johnny had so much anger and aggression and passion in that whole sequence, and to be able to unleash the best that we could of him towards Kreese, and then to be able to have a big moment between Daniel and Kreese. Nobody's ever seen the two of them fight each other.
No.
And so being able to have a moment with the two of them was pretty incredible. And then to have to play with the whole fight with Johnny and Robbie, the two of them together, Tanner and him fighting. It was like, okay, Tanner's trying to kill Johnny, but Robbie's trying to kill Johnny, but Johnny's like having to deflect and not like, he never wanted to he doesn't want to fight his kid. So it was like, just a lot of style changes and different types of choreography that we got to play with in that whole sequence. So it made it a lot of fun to put together.
So good. You guys, it was quite an amazing season with all the fights. Yeah, I know that the big three, they were teasing it, during Q&As on Twitter. Are we getting more fighting? Yes, you'll get more karate. Like, so we're just like, okay, all right. So it's really cool. Now, what was something, and this will be the last thing I ask you guys, but what is something that was, choreographed, but I mean, I guess the example of the fight between Dimitri and Hawk that we didn't get to see, was there anything else like that where like maybe in the finale where like you guys wanted to do it, maybe even, but because of time, it didn't work out.
The whole Johnny Kreese and Daniel fight, all that was exact.
All made
to
it. Yeah.
all of that made it.
Awesome.
The LaRusso house, the LaRusso house, the oneer actually it in when we first put it together, it actually ended when Tori and Sam faced off after they took their two guys out in that fight and they faced off right there at the inside the house. That's originally where it was going to end, but Josh was like, let's keep it going. Let's get Sam out and let's get Tori out. So we continued that sequence.
Yeah, we needed to see them leave because otherwise it didn't make sense. The next time we pick them up, they're in the dojo. So
Right.
It's like, let's incorporate that transition. So that was additional choreography, I think, that we did on the day.
Yeah.
And it was just like throwing new choreo and working different paths. And it's like, okay, who is a Miyagi-Do that was down over here that Tori can fight? So it was like trying, because sometimes it's like, oh, well, you could fight this one. It's like, wait, no, you guys are on the
other side of the house.
You're from the same dojo, so it doesn't make sense that you would fight it. Like, so it was like working some of that out so that it all made sense.
She has on her Instagram, she played a behind the scenes of the last take. It took us, I think, 6 or 7 takes to get the final shot. And it's me and Josh are like, she's recording the monitor. And then you can hear me and Josh sort of commentating through the whole piece to make sure every beat is happening the way it needs to happen. And then it literally goes off of that into like when Tori exits the house, she goes right into Jahnel's arms, and then like the house goes crazy. Everybody's super excited, clapping and yelling. It was a pretty cool little clip that's on.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that, and I feel like I'm pretty good at like keeping up with everybody's social media to share stuff like that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and dig for that. So again, I can't say enough about your guys' hard work in season 3. And we in our group on social media, we're always talking about the fight sequences. You've seen some of my posts recently, and you've engaged in some of the comments. Jacob likes to troll, so people are having some fun. Just speculating like possible matchup, like future matchups. Is there, the SAG thing that's like specific for certain people? So it's not like fans can help vote or anything, right? That's like the industry thing.
If any of you fans out there are SAG members and are part of the Screen Actors Guild, you definitely can go and vote. You just have to be part of the Screen Actors Guild.
Okay, I'll try to find a link and we'll is there a deadline for that? I imagine there is for voting.
Oh, gosh.
I know voting's open right now, but I'm not sure when it closes.
I'll look it up after we get done with this, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, because
there is a deadline for it.
I want to make sure this goes up and gives it enough time for what you said, for the people that are eligible to vote to go ahead and vote. Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's probably lots of fans out there that are part of the Screen Actors Guild. If they do any acting or anything like that, they can get out there and surely vote for us. The next step after this is we're on an Emmy run again. So like the Emmys are right around the corner. So we're putting our submission together now to see if we can get nominated for season 3. That would be the next like kind of award thing that we would be going towards.
Yeah, looking forward, crossing fingers for sure. Anything other than that you guys would like to promote? So maybe recent projects. Jahnel, I don't think the Jumanji 2 had come out yet when I spoke to you guys the first time. So did you were back for that one, doubled Karen again?
Yeah. We like just made the cusp between with it being released as far as the pandemic goes, because it got released in theaters I think in November or December, and then all the theaters shut down in March. So it like just made that cutoff of being able to enjoy it in the movie theater. But yeah, that was a fun one. Those are always fun movies.
Right. Welcome to the Jungle, I think it's called, right? Jumanji, welcome.
The second one was the next level. The next level. Yeah.
The first, okay, maybe the first one, that was just a tagline for it. But I did see it because that's the one with Danny Glover.
Yeah.
And
so
right. Yeah. So, okay. We'll wrap it up right there. We'll include, links how to find you guys on social media for those that want to follow and check out some of your guys' work that you guys share. So, thanks again so much for joining me and letting me pick your brain. I know connection.
It's great to talk to you again. See you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. See you in person again. Yeah, but this time virtually, obviously. So, let's wrap it up. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.